Leah Rachel Von Essen writes to the Humanities Festival, I'm inspired by Sansa's character. She wrote, books only, in parentheses, so okay. I'm inspired by Sansa's character in the way her soft skills aren't denigrated, even as Arya is the more classic strength warrior. Do you think they parallel each other? How does their relationship mirror the dynamics of real-life sibling relationships?
Well, I hope that they're both realistic characters in some sense. I've known people who were like both of them, and in some sense, I'm like both of them. I've been asking, and we're talking about two of my women characters, girls in that case, and I've been asked about writing girls and women in my books. I have the advantage, I think, of in A Song of Ice and Fire, is that I have a lot of women, and therefore I can do a lot of different women characters. In an interview that I did in Canada a number of years ago, the host asked me, how do I write women characters? And I said, well, I have this revolutionary idea. I act as if women were people, and that's my feeling. Now, if you have a book and you only have one woman character, and sometimes there's not room for any more because you're writing a short story, or a novel that only has three or four main characters, people sometimes take it, oh, that's his opinion of women or something, because this character has these flaws. But you have an advantage when you have 20 women characters that you can show the variety of people, that some of them are noble, and some of them are selfish, and some of them are smart, and some of them are stupid. And I think that's true of all groups, men, women, straight people, gay people, whatever color. They come in all varieties, and even the individuals have good and evil within them. I always try to do, because I think it's realistic, and I think we're all gray. We all have good and bad in us. We've all done good things, and we've all done bad things. And we can do, real history is full of stories about people who did something wonderful on Tuesday and something horrible on Thursday. Same person. There's a wonderful writer who passed away a few years ago, not a science fiction writer, but Pat Conroy. Have any of you ever read Pat Conroy? A terrific writer, one of the great writers, I think, of the 20th century. He wrote, a lot of his books were made into movies. The Great Santini, The Waters Wide, which was made into the movie Conrack, based on his own experiences teaching, The Lords of Discipline. But probably the best known books of his is The Prince of Tides. And I remember that book. That book has a character in it who is an absolutely abusive father. He terrorizes his children. He abuses them both verbally and physically. He's horrible to his wife. He's a really despicable, horrible person. But there are flashbacks within that to World War II about an American aviator flying a mission over Nazi Germany who is shot down. And he parachutes out to safety, but now he's in the middle of Nazi Germany. He has to get back to the lines, and he makes his way through the German lines, hiding in haystacks, and occasionally meeting Germans who try to turn him in, and then other Germans who are kind to him and hide him. And it's an interesting secondary storyline. It's the same character. And you realize as you read this, you're reading this story about this brave American aviator trying to make his way through the Nazis and get back to the lines, and you're really rooting for him, and you're identifying him, and you think he's great. And then you get to the present day, and he's this horrible, wretched person, based on Conroy's own father, who was mistreating his family. And I love that. The depth of character there was amazing, and the fact that Conroy did it so adroitly. So that's some of my views on characters. And Arya and Sansa, indeed, many of my characters are complicated people. And I try to show all of the complexities. I don't want them to be just one note. Um, Arya is certainly more popular than Sansa, but Sansa has her people who love her too. And of course, we'll have to see when I write the book, the ends that I have in mind for both of them.
Wow. Yes. I mean, it takes me back to the point you made earlier about length, right? And one benefit is that we can actually see that character transformation even over the course of a single novel, as we can see this character begin in one condition and end somewhere else. So I'm going to give our final question to someone named Adam Prestigiacomo, who wants to know what is something. Are you here? Oh, all right. What up? Did I say your last name sort of right? Great. Nailed it. Okay. Our good friend Adam wants to know what is something that makes you happy.
There are
He's
a lot
right
of
there, so.
there are a lot of things that that make me happy. You know, I love books. Reading a good book makes me happy, especially, you know, I've been reading since I was a small kid. I still read voraciously. I read a chapter or two from a book almost every night. Every once in a while, I pick up a book where I read that chapter or two, and then I have to read another chapter, and another chapter, and another chapter. I wind up staying all night. I love it when that happens. I love good movies. I love good television shows, the kinds that get my hooks into me, and I have to binge them all on Netflix. I actually kind of hate the concept of binging, but I find myself doing it anyway. As my waistline will testify, I love good food, especially, you know, I mean, Greek food in Chicago, opa opa, great barbecue when I'm in Texas, in New Mexico where I lived. I moved to New Mexico in 1979, and I can never leave because I became addicted to green chili, which you can really only get in New Mexico. Someone there knows the truth of what I speak. And you'll probably all boo me for this, but of course, pizza in New York.
You know, it is what it is.
So I love all that. And I love writing my own stories, and particularly I love finishing them. I actually don't love, I mean, people say, do I enjoy writing?
No one likes writing.
I don't like writing. Writing is hard.
Writing sucks.
Writing, I'm constantly questioning myself. Every sentence I put down, I wonder whether it's good enough, or you know, I reread what I wrote yesterday and I hate it. But when I actually finish a book, you know, the rush that comes through me, it was easier to write short stories then, because then I would get that rush, you know, every few weeks. But now I get that rush every, you know, 8 years or something like that. But it's a great rush, and I'm hoping to have it again in the relatively near future when I finish Winds of Winter. But you know, I do know that the day after I announce that, the day after Winds of Winter comes out, I'll get the first text saying, "When is Dream of Spring coming out?" So you know, these pleasures are temporary, but there's a lot of things I love, and I love the people in my life. I've been very fortunate. I have my wonderful wife, Paris, who unfortunately couldn't be with me on this trip. I have an amazing staff of minions who serve me. One of them, Sid, is here with me tonight, and 4 or 5 others are at home. They try to keep me working and try to keep distractions at bay. I love my publishers, David Munch, who didn't want me to come here, and and my editor, Ann Grohl, and my wonderful publishers at Bantam Doubleday Dell. So there's a lot of things that make me happy. Thank you.